Arguably the worst thing about recording these map announcement videos is the fact that I always spot something somewhere that is wrong, that I could have done better, that I've made a mistake on, and so on and so forth. So just as a reminder, if you are new to my video series on maps, the map that you see in the video is almost never the actual map available for download, because I fix things, I tweak things. Check the links in the descriptions and the pinned comment for the absolute most recent version of the map, probably with things fixed. Tormented Souls 2 is not a metroidvania. I'm known, quote unquote, for my metroidvania maps, but they are not the only genres that I map, and I did actually make a map for Tormented Souls 1 because it was a game that, in some ways, despite myself, I enjoyed. The map system in Tormented Souls 2 is better, in my opinion. It's got a cursor on it, essentially, that shows you where your character is, what direction they're facing, and so on and so forth, which is something that was missing from the first game. And because of that, it was in many ways easier to put together a map for the second game. Except that the second game is probably 3 or 4 times the size of the first game, and it still does that thing that they did in the first game, where there are numerous locations that don't have maps, and thus they needed to be created from scratch with what limited tools and knowledge I had available. So I've started off on this just because this is the very first kind of area in the game. This is where you wake up, and you can see the kind of detail that I've gone into. I'm not going to say that this is a 100% map. It's got everything that I found on, and I've read through at least one walkthrough to check this against there, and anything that they mentioned that I didn't have, I went and checked in game at an end game save file to fix that up as well. I do not know whether the smashable crates and vases in the game always smash for the same things. I've watched one person play half of the game. I haven't finished watching the video actually because I've been busy putting the map together, and they seem to have got all the same drops that I've got. So I think the smashable urns and crates are just set drops, but I'm going to be brutally honest, the game is really buggy in many ways, so I don't know whether that is just a freak coincidence or what. So if things do turn out to be randomized, I've made sure I've actually left the kind of little urn icon or the crate icon underneath the consumable or the drop, so that I can remove them quickly and easily should that need to be done. So we've got locked doors, we've got all the puzzle solutions, we've got the maps, we've got ladders up and down, we've got switches, we've got elevators, we've got all the save points, we've got all ammunition, including the ammunition that is only findable by the metal detector. We have got weapons, key items, doors that we can move through. We've got light switches that can be turned on and off. We've got the locations of all of the diary entries that you need for the achievements, as well as some others. We've got full solutions to a lot of all of the puzzles in the game. We've got information about the stairs leading up or down. Everything that you could think of for that. I've tried to keep, in the most cases, especially on the earlier maps, the names of the map in the appropriate places, but in some places I've had to label them off to the side just because they didn't fit. The prison and the crypts don't have a map in game. I've created a map for them. I've added on the traps. I've showed you how to get through all of the puzzles there, and so on and so forth. There are places in the game where, like in the first game, you can go through mirrors to a Silent Hill style other side. And I've pulled out those areas and created different versions of them with the new things on. You can see that there's a secret passage on here that doesn't have a map in game. It just shows your kind of pointer floating off in space. So I've added those on as well, and I've given them this desaturated colour. There are areas in the game where you can use VHS players to go back into the past. And once again, if I can find one, got some around here somewhere. Yeah, I've again created a version of that map so that there's no confusion. So that there's a version for the past and there is a version for the present, and they are different so that you can see. Let's zoom out, shall we? To the one, not to the one-to-one view, to the full map. This is what the full map looks like. It's got a 16:9 aspect ratio because I wanted it to. And yeah, so this up in the top left-hand corner is the convent. This is where you start the game. There's probably 2, maybe 3 hours tops of gameplay there at a normal speed. Obviously, if you're doing a speed run, it's not going to be anywhere near that long. It's going to be half an hour tops. But for most people, if for example, if you played the demo, you're probably going to get an hour to 2 hours out of that area. Then you've got the town, which is your hub area. And again, it's got all of the crates, it's got all of the bits and pieces, it's got extra maps for the cellar and the sewers that I had to create. Some of these were quite tricky to do because I don't know which way was supposed to be up or down. So I've just done what fit best. And again, we've got locked doors, we've got the mall down here, where I've tried to make it nice and clear how things link up. Again, how to get the puzzles, different weapons, and so on and so forth. The sewers, I've added on sections because this isn't mapped in the game. I can see why. It's a big long tunnel. But it's got no map in game, so it has to be added on separately. We've got the cemetery. Again, with bits added on, with puzzle solutions added in, so on and so forth. How to do all the bits and pieces there. We've got the processing plant, which took me about 6 hours to map out. Quite a complicated area. Lots of levels, lots of linking between separate bits and pieces, different other side areas, different puzzles to solve, and so on and so forth. We have got... what else do we have? We'll get to that in a second. We've got the school. Again, quite a large area. Some of the lines around the outside are a bit scratchy. At some point I might see if I can clean those up even further. But yeah, that was again another hefty area to map out, including some VHS shenanigans and some other side shenanigans. And then we've got the church. The church doesn't have a map at all in game. The only indication that we have of what the church looks like is the fact that there is a section on the town map that shows you a vaguely rough sense of what the church looks like and how it connects up to the convent. So I pulled that out, I added a load of details on, I duplicated it, I added walkways on for the second floor, I rejigged it for the other side, for the Undercroft other side, for the Undercroft in the real world. I linked everything up, I told you how to get through all of the bits and pieces. This door here was really buggy for me. I'm assuming that will get fixed at some point. That took a while to do, but nowhere near as long as this, which is the bunker. This is the final area in the game. It has no map in game. I found it quite confusing, even though it's actually a reasonably linear and straightforward area. The camera shifting for the fixed camera angles seemed quite wild and swingy in places, and I found it quite difficult to get my bearings. And it was only when I started putting this together that I actually really started to get a sense of what the area looks like. And just looking at it now, you might be thinking, well, damn it, that actually doesn't look particularly complicated. It's like, no, Actually, as it turns out, it's really not. But when you don't have a map in-game to follow, it's a little bit more complicated when you've got a terrible sense of direction like me. If you don't, then chances are this is really not particularly interesting or useful at all, because you won't have had any issues with this. So we got information about achievements on there as well. We've got the bosses on there, connecting lines to get you between zones, ways of getting through doors, ways of solving puzzles. Basically everything that I could think of, so that if I ever do go back to the game and play it on one of the other difficulties for some of the costume unlocks, I've got this as reference for where to go, how to get there, and of course it could be used by people if you want to use it for personal use to plan your routes through the game. These two things, the church and the bunker, were the things that I saw the most people complaining about. It's like, oh, they've done it again. They've got these final areas in the game where they haven't put any maps in. And yeah, it's frustrating, and I wish they wouldn't do it, but at least they have put maps in for the main areas, because these areas are, I mean, I think I probably make them look even more complicated than they actually are on some of these maps, to be honest. But it was just fitting things together so that we didn't have stuff like this with line overlaps. You know, this was the simplest way I could do some of these. So is it a great map? It's pretty decent, actually. I'm pretty proud of this one. I think I've done a reasonably good job of providing as much information as I think anybody could want. But as I said, I'm not claiming that this is 100%, because there might be things with the metal detector that I missed. I did go back and check all the statues, including the stuff that you can find at your grave in the cemetery. Don't ask, play the game, you'll find out. But yeah, I'm not claiming that this is 100%. It's probably pretty close to, but if there are things that you found in the game that aren't on this map, do please let me know. There could be things that I find in a second playthrough, but I've got other games that I want to map before I go back and revisit this. I tend to only put these videos out when I'm reasonably confident that I am done, but it will get updated as needs be. As per usual, there will be a free version of this map available in my Google Drive. In fact, for the first time in many months, maybe it's over a year now, I actually put these two maps up in a Steam guide. First time I've used Steam guides I think it was March 2024. Because so many people were struggling and talking about, you know, these areas. Why are there no maps for these areas? It's like, well, you've got them now if you need them. And as well as the maps in the Google Drives, if you want the full 100% resolution, which realistically is probably a bit big for most people, there'll be a version available in my coffee store as well. This took me about 42 hours to put together overall. There was a lot of cleaning up to do because all of these maps in-game have got backgrounds. The church and the bunker took me probably 10 hours total to do on their own, just because of the creation of the maps and trying to make them as accurate as I can. They're not 100% in terms of scale. I don't think they're even at the same scale as the other areas. But to be fair, the in-game maps aren't actually in scale with each other either. So I've had to jig those around. But yeah, it's a 10 to 15 hour first playthrough experience that it took me 40-ish hours to make the maps for. Because I'm weird. And I'm going to go. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for the support. Let me know down below if you played Tormented Souls 2. How many bugs did you run into? I ran into a fair number. Let me know. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Cheerio. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not click the like button and consider subscribing. Remember, you can ring the bell notification icon to get notified when new videos go live. And until next time, cheerio.